Imagine this, you are starving and you are scrolling through restaurant reviews trying to find the perfect place to eat tonight. You check the restaurant hygiene, you check the prices, you check the location, but how do you actually decide? Now, this is not an ideal scenario. We are not machines, and so some factors matter more to us than the others. Maybe hygiene is a deal breaker for you, or maybe you're just craving pizza tonight. But here's the cool part, this is exactly how artificial neurons work. Just like your brain weighs different factors differently to come up with a solution, these neurons in deep learning are also assigned separate weights to give some factors more importance than the others. Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am Selena and this is the second video of the series on foundations of deep learning. In this week's video, we are breaking down the building blocks of deep learning, that is neurons, weights and biases. And we will do this with simple, easy to understand examples. So without further ado, let's jump right in. In our last video, we laid the foundation for deep learning. That is what it is, why is it so powerful, and how it is transforming industries. And in this video, we will learn how it actually works and how it processes information. Alright, let's start with the basics. What is a neuron? So in the human brain, neurons are the tiny powerhouses that help us think, learn, and make decisions. They take in signals, process them, and pass them along to other neurons. Now in deep learning, we have something called an artificial neuron that is also called a perceptron. It takes in multiple inputs, does some math, processes it, and gives some output. But here's the interesting part. Not all inputs are treated equally, because some are more important than others. And this is exactly where weights and biases come in. Now a neuron receives multiple inputs and they can vary depending on your use case. So in a restaurant rating system, it could be hygiene, location, prices, these could be the inputs. And if you're going for some image recognition model, the pixel intensities could be your inputs. Each input is assigned a weight that determines its importance in the decision-making process. So if one input is more important, then it will be given a higher weight than the other one. That is why higher weights have higher influence on the output and lower weights have lower influence. The assigning of weights is done by multiplying the weight value with the value of the input. So the higher the value of the weight, the more it increases the impact of the input on the output. These weights are first randomly assigned and then they improve during training. We can understand this with an example. So let's say we are calculating the final grade of a student and it is based on a couple of factors like the hours that the student studied, the number of assignments that they submitted on time and correctly, and the amount of attendance they have. So these will be our three inputs. And all these three will have different weights, W1, W2 and W3. Let's say I want to give more importance to hours. So even if a student has studied, let's say 6 hours, I will give them a high importance level or high weight level. Weights are usually between 0 to 1. So if I give it a weight like 0.7, so hours will have more importance on the final grade of the student. These weights can be changed through back propagation. So let's say you get a wrong answer for your trained model. So the wrong answer will then get back propagated through all of the weights. And the model will try to correct its weight so that it gets the correct answer. So now we know what weights are and what inputs are. And we also know that these weights are multiplied with the inputs. But what do you do with them? So essentially, we add them up. We make a weighted sum. We multiply each input with its respective weight and we add all of these to get a sum. But what does the neuron do with this sum? And is there an additional parameter that we are forgetting? Now this additional parameter is called a bias and it allows you to shift the model to your likes, whether you want it this way or that way. Even when all the inputs are 0, you will still get a value when you add a bias to your weighted sum. This result of the weighted sum plus the bias is then passed through something called the activation function. Bias learns the patterns that cannot be learned by the weights alone. Now that we know what biases and weights are, let us now understand what an activation function is and how all this is sent as an input to the activation function so that you can decipher some output from the neuron. Because just by sending a linear function into the input of a neuron, you will get a linear output, and that's not what we need. We need a prediction, and that comes only when you add the activation function. An activation function is just a mathematical function, and it takes the input as the linear equation that we have formed, that is the weighted sum of the inputs plus the bias. And as an output, it gives you whether or not the neuron should fire or not. Activation functions hence help add non-linearity to the neural network model. Activation functions can be of different types like ReLU, sigmoid function, threshold function, etc. We'll talk more about activation functions in our next video in more detail. Now, all of this that we just discussed, that is neurons, weights and biases, all of this is used to implement selective firing. But why do we need selective firing in the first place? Why can't we just fire all the inputs at once? Well, if the neuron fired every single time it received an input, it will become overwhelmed with the amount of unnecessary signals that it is getting, and this will make the learning very inefficient. On the other hand, if the neurons fired only rarely, then the network will never learn anything. This is where selective firing or selective activation of a neuron comes in. It makes sure that the neuron only gets activated or processes some meaningful information when a certain threshold is crossed, and this threshold is usually a number. We will discuss more about this threshold and activation functions in the next video. That was all for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it and got to learn something new this week. And if you did, then don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I'll be back next week with another exciting video in this series of Foundations of Deep Learning. Till then, thank you for watching and see you again.